a lot of you guys saw the Game Changer, and I really appreciate you taking my advice and seeing it because it's really in depth as far as what's important to us and all of the science behind it and the research that it was done is respectable research. It's honorable, and I can validate it because before the Game Changer came out, I was already demonstrating how an athlete in his 40s can go back to running and competing as if he's in his 20s. So when the Game Changer came out, I was already 10 years ahead of them. I was already 10 years of scientist, so I already knew that the ability to reverse your age, that's what I coined back in 2010, age reversal. And then that's what we created age reversal detoxification. So it was about reversing your biological age. But many of us didn't know that we have two ages. We didn't know we had a chronological age as well as a biological age. We only knew one thing. We only knew that we had a chronological age. And chronological time is based upon how long it takes the Earth to circle the sun, which is 365 days. So the fact is that we all grew up learning the same thing as it pertains to time. And because the mind, it controls the body, whatever your mind believes, the body follows. And so when I discovered that you had a biological age, then my goal was to find out, okay, how does that age work? Well, it works totally different from chronological time. In fact, the biological age has to do with how long it takes your organs, your body, your skeletal system to fully regenerate. And what I learned through my research is that it takes anywhere from 10 to 15 years in order for you to get a brand new body. So if that's the case, that means that every 15 years roughly, you have all new cells in your body, which means you have a new body, but the new body is not looking like the previous body. Well, why is the new body not looking like the previous body? You get new shoes, you ain't gonna buy no shoes that look worse than the shoes you just, got rid of. You want brand new shoes, just like you want brand new body. So the fact is that what's causing the body to degenerate over time, if indeed you are getting a brand new body. And that's what we were missing. We were missing that component because all we knew is that as you get, once you leave 30 and you're on your way to 40 and you're on your way to 50, you just start planning on retiring because you're starting to get old. So just let it be. Don't challenge it. Just let it run its course. And that's all we've been doing is just letting it run its course. But when I discovered that you can slow down the aging process, then I discovered you can stop it. Well, I don't want to stop my aging process at 70. Then I discovered you can reverse it. Now, that's where I set my life's work on biological tissue regeneration, biological tissue regeneration. So it's about regenerating the tissue. And this made sense to me because as a biology student, I was good at biology. So it made sense that when cells divide, they're dividing almost indefinitely based upon the condition. The human cell is immortal. The human cell is immortal. What kills it is the environment that it's dividing into. And every cell needs oxygen. So if you suffocate a cell, it's no different than putting a pillow over a human's face. You put a pillow over your face, you're gonna suffocate. Well, that's the same thing with your cells. They're suffocating, so they can't breathe. Yeah, they're immortal, but at the same time, if you suffocate them, they're gonna die. But if you create a better environment for your cells, then guess what? They can continue to replicate indefinitely. What does that mean? That means that you can continue to develop new organs. You can continue to develop a new body every 15 years. Well, the reason people start looking younger when they go through this process is because they're backtracking. It's almost like going through time. It's like time travel. They're getting younger, but they're really going back to their ideal, normal age and balance. See, we were supposed to live indefinitely at a certain state. But what happens is that state, the state we're in now, is called the state of degeneration. So over time, we're degenerating. We're not getting old, we're molding. we're rusting, but we're not getting old. We are only getting old based upon chronological time. And so that's what we've always associated aging with. Whenever your birthday was, from the time you came into this earth realm, and this earth circles that sun, which is 365 days, that's 1 year. So every year, what do we say? We say we're a year older. And if you keep telling yourself that year after year after year, then yeah, you're gonna program it into your subconscious mind. And that's what we've been doing. We're running on programs, and these programs are on autopilot. So literally, until you become aware of what's going on a deeper level in your subconscious, you can't stop this program. You know why you can't stop it? Because it's living inside your subconscious mind. And the reason that makes a difference is because when something gets into your subconscious mind, we don't really want it to change. Think about it for a second. You know, what if you get on a bike that you learned how to ride when you was little, right? And what if you get on it one day and you forget how to ride it? You see, you can't forget how to ride it. What if you get in your car one day and you forget how to drive it? What if you leave your house one day and you forget where you live? So the subconscious mind has a purpose. It's to lock in what you learn. But here's the problem. By default, we've been learning stuff that's detrimental to our life, that's detrimental to our health. And it's hard to unlearn it. Because if you train a child in a way he should go, he shall not depart. But if you train a child in a way he should not go, same thing, he will not depart. So it's more of an addiction now. We're dealing with an addiction. It's beyond what's right and what's wrong. We have an addiction to the animal protein, to the animal substance, and that's what the program is all about. It's about breaking the addiction. You can run 100 movies in front of a person, but as soon as that addiction kicks in, they relapse and they go right on back to that barbecue chicken that they've been eating all their life at the barbecues, at the cookouts, and then all of the gatherings, the love that was at the gathering. So, man, this is a deep-rooted addiction that we have to do systematically. And in order to do that, one of the things that helps is detoxifying the body. You have to get the body out of that state by flushing the substance out of your body. When you flush the substance out of your body, guess what? You stop craving it. Once you correct the nutritional and vitamin deficiency, then you stop craving stuff. You stop craving sugar, you stop craving coffee, you stop craving a lot of stuff. But here's the problem, is that it's so deeply rooted in us, we believe we love it, right? I was on the air today, WVON. I had a great show with Linnell Harris. And man, it was a overwhelming response. It's probably gonna take me 2 days to get back to everyone. But they were so hungry for the truth, because everybody knows that something's not right, but I can't change it because I can't see it. The reason they can't see it is because it's subconscious. 90% of your thoughts every day are below your conscious awareness. That means the majority of who you are, is out of your sight. You're not even conscious of it. So the question is, do you know yourself? If you're not in touch with your subconscious mind and the content in your subconscious mind, then you don't really know what makes you tick. And so the food that we're eating, it's hard to stop eating it because it's a part of our program that's running in our subconscious. Think about it for a second. Your conscious mind processes 40 bits of information every second. 40. Your subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of information every second. You're going to try to go up against a 40 million bit processor with a 40-bit processor. It doesn't work that way. You get it? You have to work on that process because that processor is strong. You know why? Because you're not going to meet anyone whose blood flows different from yours, whose heart rate is different from yours, except in rate, heart rate and what it's actually doing. If the heart rate is different from yours, that means it could be a disease process. But look how long it takes for even the heart rate to start changing. So when we talk about the subconscious mind, you talk about what you've been doing from the time you had teeth, From the first time you got teeth, what did your mom do? She stuck that chicken in your mouth, that chicken nugget, probably from McDonald's. But once you tasted that nugget, it was on from there. Now, every year, you was eating chicken at least multiple times a week. So yeah, it's a part of your DNA. Your DNA, yep, your chemical makeup. And here's the problem with that. There's a law called the law of hybridization. The law of hybridization. What that means is when you cross your proteins with animal protein, you take on the life form of the lower species. You take on characteristics of the lower species. Those aren't vegans and vegetarians out there committing murders. Those are meat eaters because of the aggressiveness that's in the food that they're eating. Vegans don't even want to kill insects sometimes. You know, if I have an insect in my house, and it can't be a lot of them, because yeah, it's going to be a slaughter. But if it's only one or two, I take a cup, put it over the insect, slide a piece of paper up under there, talk to them on my way out the door, and set them free. I love life and I love other people, and I believe in preserving life. But when you're a meat eater, it's a whole different mentality. And so that aggressiveness, you also see it in our kids, but you see it in a way where it is a learning disability. We have problems learning because the meat is clogging up our system. It's clogging up our arteries, and we can't think straight. We're really emotional. Meat makes you very emotional. It affects your hormonal imbalance. You know, we talked about that today on WBON. We talked about how eating animals, eating meat clogs up your system. It affects your hormonal balance, and it affects your gut health. So now, when we talk about blood type, which is connected to your digestive system, which is connected to your immune system. But check this out, your immune system and your digestive system are pretty much one and the same, because where are the bacteria? It's in your gut. The bacteria in your gut is 70% of your immune system. Yeah, the bacteria in your gut is 70% of your immune system. So isn't it obvious now that whatever you're eating, the question is what you're eating benefiting the gut flora, or is it detrimental to the gut flora? These are questions you got to ask. Every time you put something in your mouth, is it beneficial to my microorganisms, or is it detrimental to your microorganisms? You have more microorganisms, more gut flora, more bacteria, more viruses in your body than you have cells. You're more than human. You're more microorganisms than anything else. So if you don't take care of these microorganisms, then guess what? They will not take care of you. And that's why it's so important to understand your blood type, because the blood type diet and information and research is kind of like the icing on the cake. There's much more to do, but at the same time, knowing your blood type helps you to preserve what? Your gut flora, helps you to strengthen your immune system, and it helps you to be able to live a healthy life. Not knowing your blood type, yeah, you know, you won't go down the drain overnight, but I guarantee you, you'll get so far away from balance, you will have no idea how to get back. The fact that we're learning about the blood type, look at how long it's taken us to learn about it. We're dealing with people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that they couldn't remember their blood type. At some point they might have known it, but they never remembered it. Why didn't they remember the blood type? Is because no one emphasized how important blood type was pertaining to the food that you're eating. So now that we understand that, based upon our chemistry, based upon the antigen on our red blood cell, there are certain foods that are not going to react well in your body. That's a fact. The question now is, okay, which foods are those? Which foods for me are those? I need to find those out, because if this food is triggering my immune system and it's making it hyperactive and it's weakening my immune system over time, then I need to either do one or two things. I either need to eliminate it completely or eat it rarely. Eliminate it completely or eat it rarely. That's my choice. So I can make that choice now, because now that I know which foods, and you're talking about 16 food groups. What if you're eating from 5 different groups, the food that you should be avoiding? Now you're compounding the issue. You get it? You're compounding it. Now, I'm not saying that, hey, if there is one food group and there's something in that one food group that you like, and you say, you know what, I think I want to eat a little bit more of that, then at least now you're aware. You're aware that, hey, if I eat this food, I'm aware of the consequences. But if I'm eating this one particular food from this food group that I should be avoiding, then I've got to make sure that I'm not eating any more food from all the other food groups that are in my avoid list. You see what I'm saying? You see how you can work that now? You can't do that if you're in the dark. You cannot do that. You can only be at the mercy of whatever happens to your body. Now you know that you have to deliberately and intentionally operate and take care of your system. It's not going to happen because right now you're on autopilot. So you're not even controlling yourself. You're controlled by your surroundings when you were from ages 1 to 7. You're controlled by whoever was around you from 7 to 13. You're controlled by whoever was around you between 13 to 18, 18 to 21. So you're not even a product of your own deliberate intention. Let me say that again. You're not even a product of your own deliberate attention, right? So why is it important now? Because we need to take back control over our health. We need to take back control over our life. We need to be intentional with what we do. What does that mean? That means that up until now, we haven't really thought for ourselves. We think that we've been thinking for ourselves because we feel like we're originating thought, but we're not originating a lot of thought. We're only constructing and creating thoughts that was passed down to us that's been in our life for years. You know why? Because when you're on a lower frequency, there's a limit to what type of thoughts you can access. Guess what? When you detox your body, you elevate to a higher frequency, a higher level of consciousness, and you guess what? You access greater thoughts. You access better thoughts. You access healthier thoughts, and guess what? You access the thoughts of God. God tells you in Isaiah, he says, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, just as my ways are higher than your ways. What he's saying is that my thoughts are on a higher frequency, but they're deeper. Anything that's higher is deeper. So when you clear all of the chatter out on that lower frequency, guess what's there on a deeper level? The thoughts of God. Those thoughts have been around since the beginning of time. You have just not had access to them. Why? Because animal protein lowers your frequency. It lowers you to the state of disease. Disease has a frequency. In fact, I think it's somewhere around 57 megahertz. Your brain is about 90 megahertz. You see, so the brain has to always stay at a high frequency. So if you're feeding your body bad food, guess what? The first thing that's going to suffer? Your brain. You get it? What disease starts from the head down. So Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, a loss of memory, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the end. So that's why it's important to know your blood type, understand what's going on in your body, reset your immune system, reset your digestive system, and guess what? You will start to establish hormonal imbalance. You know, we talked about hormonal imbalance, and we talked about the fact that if you don't take care of your gut, get this, if you don't take care of your gut, serotonin is produced in your gut. So serotonin is primarily produced in your gut. And you know what serotonin is? That's that happy hormone. In other words, that's the reason why when people don't have a good gut flora, when they don't have a good bacterial environment, they get depressed. They develop anxiety, fear, sadness. That's where their negative emotions are coming from. And they don't realize it's because those microorganisms are depressed, unhappy, have anxiety. You know why they have anxiety? Because they don't have a good environment. As within, so without. You take care of your microorganisms, they take care of you. You destroy your microorganisms, they destroy you. We're killing animals and they're killing us. Karma. We just don't associate it. So yeah, heart disease, unfortunately, we earn it. Cancer, we earn it. Diabetes, we have earned it. We just didn't know how we were earning it until now. When we talk about biofeedback technology, excuse me, biofeedback technology is helping us to get a hold on what's going on in our body. Because until now, we had no idea we had a long laundry list. We had no idea. Because you know why we didn't have an idea? Because when we went back and forth to the hospital, guess what they did? They said, well, we're going to run some tests, but then they don't find anything. Why don't you go home? You got a clean bill of health. We'll see you in a year. Well, you come back in a year. They look at you, run the same test. It's up. We don't see nothing. Now, meanwhile, you're still having symptoms of stuff. In fact, you've been having symptoms since you was in your teenage years. You know what your first symptom was? Acne. Acne was a sign. Acne. Think about that. Hey, acne is normal. Let's just get something, put it on it, and it's gone. Well, your acne transformed. You didn't even know it. It transformed right before your eyes, and you thought it went away. No, acne didn't go away. It just became something different. Your acne became heavy menstrual cycles. Your acne became hyperactivity. Your acne became joint pain. And when it became joint pain, when it became hyperactivity, you said, oh, okay, the acne is gone. No, the acne isn't gone. It's just mutated. Then now you started dealing with over-the-counter medication or prescription medication for some of the things you're doing now, you know, asthma. But guess what? Asthma becomes advanced, and that becomes cancer. It becomes Alzheimer's. It becomes leukemia. What I'm trying to say is this, is that the same condition that caused acne in its beginning stages is the same condition that causes cancer in the late stages. It's like a continuum. So how we addressed acne was the beginning of how we started addressing our signs and symptoms. We treated it topically. We treated it externally. We didn't go inside. Your skin is an elimination channel. So if you're dealing with acne, doesn't that make sense that there's something going on in the body? But we were taught to treat it topically. And yeah, you can do something topically and get it removed. But at the same time, if you treat it topically, if you only address the symptoms, the underlying condition just progresses and it gets worse. It gets worse until you reach a point where, yeah, now you're dealing with some severe abnormalities. When you had acne, it was only mild. But he was like, hey, nothing wrong. There's no crisis. I'm still feeling good. I'll put something on my face. I'll cover it up with makeup. Meanwhile, the diet is continuously dumping more and more acid into your body, more and more toxic waste. You're drinking more and more chemicals. So now what was once mild, as the bioscan shows you, it progresses to moderate. Or you can say intermediate. Now you're dealing with it from a medical perspective. Once again, you learned that when you have a symptom, go get it checked out, get the prescription, take the drug, and yeah, it might go away. And it sometimes do. A lot of times it does go away. But that doesn't mean the cause was eradicated. It just means that you silenced the voice of your body. You muffled it just like this. So your body is trying to call out, it's trying to help you, but it can't help you because you muffled it. You're supposed to assist your body, not work against it. Unfortunately, what's happening, the information we had, the information our mothers and grandmothers had was limited. Now we have more information. Now we have biofeedback technology. Now we can see and ascertain what's going on in our body at the cellular level, and we can see disease down to 10 cells or more. 10. What's the difference between the bioscan and regular hospital invasive equipment? Is how it's calibrated. The hospital equipment is calibrated at trauma level. They're not looking for 10. They can't see nothing at 10 cells, but they can see it at 100 million cells. So you have to patiently wait until they get to 100 million cells. Then you can participate in the healthcare system, right? We're waiting to participate. We're waiting to participate in a system that's treating your condition in the late stages. This is why the bioscan is here. God said, you know what? We got to stop this, because guess what? I don't care how punctual you are, and people know I'm not always punctual. I don't always do things on time. But what I realize in society is that we're all procrastinators. You see? So if you judge somebody and say, oh, you're a procrastinator, you have no idea how much you've been procrastinating. We're all procrastinating because we're programmed to procrastinate. We're programmed to wait on the crisis. That's the most severe procrastination you can ever deal with, to wait on a crisis. Because I did a lesson, and on one of the slides it talks about how a healthy person has 100% of this life force. It says that a doctor can recognize disease at 30%. 30%. What does that mean? That means that 70% is gone. Does that sound like the late stages now? 30% on the test, that's an F. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. That's a C. 90% of your thoughts are subconscious. That's an A. You see where I'm going with this? You have to know these things, because you can't order your life properly if you don't know these things. Ignorance of divine law is no excuse. You have to know these things, because you are the law. You are the placebo. You are the one who's controlling your own life. You're the only thinker in your universe. But guess what you can do? You can accept thoughts of other people. So if a medical doctor tells you you got 6 months to live, you're going to believe them. Why are you believing them? Because you're trained to believe. You're taught to believe them. And don't get me wrong, I believe them too. Because when I had asthma growing up, if I had an asthma attack, my mother would come off, get off work, and she would come take me to Children's Memorial Hospital. And so I just wanted to breathe. When I got to that hospital, guess what? They gave me albuterol treatments. They might have gave me steroid injections. It didn't matter. I didn't know what they were doing. All I know is after about an hour or so, I was feeling better. I was breathing. So guess what? That was my hero. The white lab coat became my hero. Until later on, I learned something. I learned that they were the cause of my asthma. I learned that these vaccinations that we're poking these kids with, these babies, as soon as they come out, it's affecting the immunity of the baby, because the baby doesn't have a developed immune system. So it can't handle all of those poisons when it first come out, which is the reason why God gave us mother's milk. You see what I'm saying? He gave us mother's milk. What's in that milk? I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you, man cannot replicate it. There's no way. He put something in that milk that don't even exist on the planet. But when we don't breastfeed our children, guess what happens? We don't build their immune system up. And I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna be honest with you. When we grow substantially, and we will, when we become 100,000 plus strong, we are gonna demand that certain changes are made. We're gonna demand that babies do not get injected with these poisons until after about 2 or 3 years of breastfeeding. We have to mandate this stuff. If otherwise, we can't protect our children. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't believe in that anyway. But at the same time, if you feel like you're gonna need it getting into the school, then Wait until at least 5 years old. Feed them a vegan lifestyle. Feed them the mother's milk for at least 1 year, for at least 2 years. My son, Abiel Zion Prince, we breastfed him for 3 years. We breastfed my son for 3 years. My son is vegan. He doesn't eat meat. He's 8 years young. He'll be 9. He can support his own diet. We were at a client's house, and believe it or not, the blessing was it was a Hispanic family. So we're moving into the Hispanic arena. And I was downstairs doing the scans in their basement, their full basement, furnished. I was doing scans down there with the family, but upstairs they was preparing vegan burgers. So of course my son was playing with their son, and then they asked my son, "Hey, you want a burger?" My son looked at him. He said, no, thank you. And he was hungry. He was hungry because he had been ripping and running. And then they told him, they said, "Hey, it's a vegan burger." Well, he didn't trust it. And he was just being, he was just being aware. He came downstairs. He asked me, "Are the burgers vegan?" I said, "Yes, the burgers are vegan. So yes, you can have one." He went right on upstairs and ate him a burger. But guess what? He would have starved before he let that meat get in his system. And this is a child. And this is what I'm saying is that by the time we turn 30, 40, 50, we've accumulated so much baggage. We've created so much autopilot karma in our system. The addiction is so strong because we've been eating and consuming it for so long. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of our chemical makeup. Man, it's going to take a while to come out of that. So the best process to reverse this, the best process is to cleanse and detoxify the body on an annual basis and never stop. When you turn 100, you don't stop. When you turn 200, you don't stop. When you reach 700, you don't stop. Why? Because every time you do it, it adds more life. Every time you detoxify your body, you move further away from the grave. Kid you not, you move further away from the crisis. At some point, we will not need a medical system. At some point, no one will be taking drugs or medication. No one. At some point, you won't even hear about heart disease. You won't hear about cancer. You won't hear about these things because they'll be in history books. We'll be telling them to our great grandkids, right? So if you don't want to make the change, if you don't want to take the pledge, then do this. Send me a few pages of what you want me to tell your great grandkids. I'll tell them in person. I'll tell them how good you were. I'll tell them you was a good man. I'll tell them you was a good woman. I will talk to them in person because I'm going to be here. I'm not being left behind. I tell people that in kind of a joking way. Some people think it's a joke, some people like, but that's the truth. Some people say, "Well, I want to be around to see my kids graduate, my great grandkids graduate." But then they don't go past great anymore. They don't go past great. They don't say great or great, because in their mind, we don't perceive life beyond a certain point. So if you can't see it, you will not reach it. You have to see it. It doesn't matter how big it is or how unbelievable it is based upon what you're experiencing right now. You literally have to let your mind go, free it, let it go. When I tell people, yeah, we're going to be around for 1,000 years. To me, that's not something unreal. You know why? You know what I'm saying? Right, send me a few pages so I can talk to your great grandkids. I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to educate them. I'm going to make sure that they don't repeat history. But at the same time, it's not far-fetched to live a long life now. You know what I discovered? I discovered that death is not as inevitable as we think it is. See, dying at a young age, living shorter than 100, that's unnatural. The Bible says a child shall die at 100. This is scripture. A child shall die at 100. What does that mean? They're not saying that children are going to die at 100, but they're saying that if a person passes at 100, they're still considered a child. Now, I don't know about you, but we're not making it to 100. A lot of people aren't making it. So you're telling me that that scripture is looking at human beings as children, even though they're 100 years old? Yes, because God says, as the days of a tree, so shall be the days of my people. As the days of a tree. How long do trees live? How long do trees live? Hundreds, thousands. I think the oldest tree is probably close to 1,000. But think about this for a second. Ask the question, what do you eat from? Predominantly. Do you eat from animals or do you eat from trees? Well, I don't eat from animals anymore. So I've gotten that protein out of my system. I eat from trees. I want to live as long as a tree. I don't want to die as an animal because that's no life there. So you have to make the decision. Your success is in direct proportion to what you're willing to sacrifice. The question is, are you willing to make some sacrifices? If you are not willing to make sacrifices, it doesn't matter what anybody does. It doesn't matter who tells you or who teaches you anything about health. If you're not willing to make those sacrifices, you will not get the life that you desire. You will not see 120. You will not see 500. You will not see it. But you make if you're willing to make the sacrifices. And what I mean by sacrifices, you got to let go of the protein, the animal protein. And don't get me wrong, I grew up with animal protein, and I was one of those bodybuilders that believed that eating meat was manly. It was masculine. And if you didn't eat meat, you couldn't build muscle. If you didn't eat meat, you couldn't build muscle. This is what we were taught. But guess what? I'm dealing with a lot of brothers, a lot of black men in their 60s that's been eating meat all their life. And guess what? They're not too much more manly. They're having sexual issues. And I think Melissa pointed that out with the video because they did that test and they showed the erection after a certain diet. Well, let me tell you this. That's true. It's true. When brothers go through the detoxification process, I don't talk to them about the perks of libido, of their libido. I don't talk about that because I didn't think that was as important as getting their blood pressure taken care of or getting their prostate shrunk. But at some point during the cleanse, I get a call, and I'm gonna talk to you because we're all adults on here. A gentleman who was low sex, in fact, he didn't have a low sex drive. He had no sex drive. He had an enlarged prostate and he had painful urination. So he wasn't thinking about his sexual performance. He wasn't thinking about that. All he wanted to do was just be able to have a decent urination without pain. Well, a week into the process, and I recommend no extracurricular activity during the cleanse. You wanna. Paul said you must separate for a time for fasting and prayer. So during the cleanse, you separate. I think I'm gonna have to start telling people that because what's happening is that once you start waking up and something's waking up before you, it seems unbelievable because it hasn't been there in a while. But what men are seeing is that they're seeing what they saw when they was in their 20s. That prowess, their libido is getting stronger. So now, like a new toy, they want to use it, right? So they want to use it, which is also going to zap the energy. So definitely it corrects everything. It corrects your libido. So guess what? No more Viagra. It shrinks fibroids. So no operations. It corrects endometriosis. It actually even reverses kidney failure, which is a big issue in the Black community, right? It's a big issue in the Black community because guess what we're seeing? We're seeing a lot of dialysis places popping up all around the community. Dialysis, right? That means that your kidneys are not filtering your blood properly, and it's leaving behind a lot of pollution. And I want to say this, that, you know, my condolences to the people who have lost parents to cancer. Unfortunately, we didn't know this back then. We could have saved them, but we just didn't know what we needed to. But what we can do is you can make their past and their situation meaningful. Make it your place. Make it your purpose to help other people's mothers, other people's fathers, other people's grandmothers. You know, let it be a mission. You know, don't dwell on what happened in the past. You know, we couldn't change it. But guess what? We can help somebody else. And that's what I'm doing. You know, I couldn't help my grandmother back in 1979. Nobody could help her because nobody, that's a double negative. I want to say a double negative. No one had any knowledge of how to help my grandmother when she was having her heart attack. In fact, I don't even think they knew CPR. So it was all about, okay, call 911 and wait, watch her die. Now, I'm actually going to recommend that we start taking CPR classes. I can teach CPR. Dr. Rita can teach CPR. We can teach CPR. Thyroid, yeah, that's easy. Well, depending on if you still got your thyroid, but thyroid is no different than prostate. Every organ in your body becomes a dump site when you're overloaded with toxic waste. If your thyroid is overloaded with toxic waste, that becomes hyper or hypothyroidism, and it becomes inflamed. If your liver becomes inflamed with toxic waste, fatty deposits, you know, at some point it becomes hepatitis. The pancreas becomes pancreatitis. Kidneys become nephritis. You see what I'm saying? The prostate becomes prostatitis, which leads to low libido, to the point where you might even develop prostate cancer. So toxic waste in the body does not do the body. That's why it's so important now to start a new habit. A new habit is cleaning your system out at least once or twice a year. If you're just starting this journey, you should probably do it anywhere from 2 to 3 times a year for the first 2 years. It takes about 4 cleanses to reach 80% healing. 4 cleanses to reach 80% healing. So you got some work ahead of you. So yeah, when we talk about, you know, weaning yourself off meat, I don't expect people to be able to come straight off of it in 3 weeks. Some people go back to it, but even if you go back to it, know your blood type and understand which meats, which fish, which fruit, which vegetables, which nuts, which breads, which beans you should be eating. You see? So now you're a little bit more intelligent about what you're putting in your body. But let me say this, the less you eat, the longer you live. The less you eat, the longer you live. Now that's something that you have to process, because we were taught that if you don't eat, you starve and you die. So that's lurking in our subconscious as well. We have to dispel a lot of myths. See, in other words, we have to start pulling back layer and layers of lies that we've been taught, because these lies is controlling our life. These lies is controlling us, but these lies are hurting us. But guess what? These lies are a part of our belief system. And so when I talk about belief, I'm talking also about epigenetics. You got to get this part. This is the last component I want to talk about. I'm not sure where we're at with this, Melissa, but epigenetics. Epigenetics is a new science out. Epigenetics is a new science. You know what I mean? Because our old science was called genetic determinism. Genetic determinism means that the expression of your genes is within your genes. And that's not true. The expression of your genes is outside of your genes. Your environment controls your biology. So how you perceive your environment can either make you well or make you sick. That's epi. Epi means above. So the expression of your genes is above or beyond your genetics. That means that the life you're living, whether it's true or not, whether it's based upon myths, lies, or if it's based upon truth, your body is gonna be the judge. If you're living a lie, you're gonna experience disease in the body. If you start living the truth, guess what? Your body heals. Guess what? It's that black and white. God said, I set before you this day, God love. I set before you this day, good and life and good, death and evil. Can't drag it like that. You gotta pick it up. Let Mike pick it up. Sorry, y'all. They was dragging chairs around here. So anyway, life and good and death and evil. Choose life, that thou and thy seed shall live. The importance of this process is this. We want to give you back your choice, your freedom to choose. We never had it when we were born into this world. There was only one system they gave us, and that system was not conducive for a long life. So if that system was not conducive for long life, then either we eliminate it or we change it. Well, I believe it still has some purpose. So we don't have to eliminate it. We can keep the healthcare system, but let's redefine it. Let's call it what it is. It's crisis care. It's not healthcare. You agree with me? It's crisis care. Because in this medical system, they're not healing the body. In order to heal the body, you have to eradicate the disease. How long we've been giving money to the Cancer Society, to the Heart Association, and they're still number one and number two. Nobody has asked, where did all that money go? It went in people's pockets and in banks. No research is being done because obviously we're still dying from heart disease and cancer. So when they come to me asking for money, I might seem like a heel, but I don't give them money. I say, well, let's talk about this. I have the cure. I know how to reverse cancer. I know how to reverse diabetes. I know how to reverse heart disease. I know how to reverse it. It's a process. When you understand what's causing the process to move in that direction towards crisis, when you understand, then you can reverse that process. So let's start working on reversing heart disease. Give us some of that money so we can start building wellness centers so that we can really start eradicating disease, not just treating it. So here's the thing. It's going to take a minute for people to really accept the holistic process. So hospitals are going to need to be around for a little while. Hospitals are going to need to be around for a little while until they start to stop procrastinating. I don't even know if that's the proper usage, but let's go with it. They need to stop procrastinating. Once we stop procrastinating, then we'll start living in a world called disease prevention. When you are preventing disease, you're not waiting until the crisis show up. The healthcare system is designed to treat you in a crisis state. That's why they don't see anything early. They don't see it until it's in the 100 million cell abnormality range. Then that's when they could see it. But by that time, it's so late, you're not considering anything that you don't know, which is a holistic approach. You don't know that approach. So you're not going to try something you don't know. You're going to go with what's already been given to us. For cancer, it's chemo and radiation. Knowing from the stats that people die from the chemo and radiation more so than anything else, than the cancer. I know people that have lived with cancer for years, but as soon as they took chemo and radiation, not too long after, they lost their life. So yes, chemo and radiation is the worst way to treat cancer. The youngest age for the cleanse, the youngest age, 5. The youngest child I ever detoxed was a 5-year-old, 5 years young. You say, well, why would a 5-year-old need to detox? And how does a 5-year-old detox? Well, the reason the 5-year-old needed to cleanse was because he kept on getting fevers periodically. He kept on getting fevers, and for some reason they couldn't control it. Well, I knew what was going on. It was those vaccines. His body was fighting those vaccines, and those fevers just wasn't getting under control. So what do? His mother supported him through a 3-week process. A 5-year-old drinking juices, a 5-year-old eating raw, 5-year-old doing nothing, taking supplements. And guess what? After the cleanse was over, the fevers were gone. We flushed those poisons out of his body, and we rebuilt his immune system at the age of 5. We cleansed a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. These were lean, athletic young brothers. Why did they need to cleanse? Because they were dealing with allergies. When they played their sports, they had problems breathing because of their allergies. Well, guess what happened? Their mom, once again, supported them through a 3-week process. Now, I didn't do a scan on them, but she supported them through a 3-week process. And guess what? Their allergies went away, because guess what we did? We took them off dairy. She learned their blood type, and they start eating according to their blood type to keep the inflammation down. You see, so it doesn't matter if you're a 5-year-old or a 90-year-old. You have to start now getting your body right. You have to start using intelligence. We have to start using information that we have, because it's irresponsible to keep eating like your parents. They had a reason to eat like that. They didn't have this information. Now we have it, so why are we doing it? And one last point I want to make is that when we talk about protein, yes, it's true. All protein comes from plants. So when we eat animals, we're getting our protein secondhand, right? So why not just step over the animal and go to the plant? Like the brother said in the movie, an ox. You know the term, as strong as an ox? Well, have you ever seen an ox eating animals? Have you ever seen an ox eating meat? Ox don't eat meat. They don't eat animals. Ox are herbivores. And look how powerful they are. Elephants don't eat meat. Where do they get their protein from? Horses don't eat meat. Where do they get their protein from? And when you think of power, you don't say lion power. No, you say horsepower. When you think of strength, you think of an ox. All of the images and analogies based upon strength and power is animals that don't eat meat. So we have to break away from the lies that's been marketed to us. And we have to flush it out of our system. We have to flush our mind of negative thoughts, negative emotions. And we have to flush our body of negative toxicity and poison. And we have to rebalance our spirit. Okay? So that's the reason why we are offering the 3-week process, the cleansing and detoxification program. This is a program after years of scanning, after thousands of cases that has come before me. I now know the pattern of disease. But guess what I also know? The pattern of healing. So you have to study something for a while to really understand how to eliminate it, get rid of it. And so when you start with the bioscan is going to help you to acknowledge what's going on in the body so that we can use that information, which has already been done, to put the products together. Most people are dealing with an acidic body. So the products are alkaline. The regimen is alkaline. The water you drink on the cleanse is alkaline. The fruits and vegetables are alkaline. So what are we doing? We are shifting your body from an acidic state to an alkaline state with the cleanse. That immediately starts the healing process, right? Because what? Disease cannot survive in an alkaline body. That's the law. And the coronavirus is not above the law. None of these diseases are above the law, but they thrive in an acidic body. So who's all out there ready to get going? Who's ready to continue cleansing? Well, you know what? I guess I should say, Melissa, who's ready to get going again? Because like Phyllis said, she cleansed about three months ago. So yeah, it's time for another cleanse.
Yes.
You know, at some point you become addicted to the cleanse, but that's not really an addiction. That's an affinity. That's a propensity towards that which is healthy. we've already had enough addictions in our life. Addiction means that you're doing something that's harmful to your body.
Yes.
To become addicted to the cleanse is not the proper way to say it, because it doesn't harm your body. It only helps your body. So you develop an affinity and the propensity for cleansing on an annual basis. And you never stop it because you always want to feel good. You start learning, you start becoming aware and familiar with good feeling and wellness. When people do the cleanse, they realize that that wellness has gone. It disappeared until they get it back, and they never want it to leave again. So
Awesome.
thank you guys.